You're all good for me. Yeah, you're good.
And you're recording, Polk?
Yep, we're good.
All right. Hey, guys. Yeah, just wanted to do a bit of a chat with everybody and talk about some stuff. Kind of go over how the challenge is put together, how it's solved, answer any questions you guys might have about it, all that fun stuff. So, as everyone knows, we started the challenge on carapace.global, which is a pretty well-built site, if you ask me. We've got a lot of really interesting stuff on here, and it's definitely worth having to go through. But the secret to it, unless you're a part of those low techs and you found the robot.txt before we hit that, was you just have to go to any site that's invalid and it'll give you a 404. And we did make sure a few of those buttons would also give you the 404. I mean, it's obviously not a real 404 because you're never going to have a 404.txt as an error message that you get. So, I mean, when we look at this, we can see we've got this, and now this did at one point say public/security, which is how that log would be presented. But we did find it was confusing a lot of people, so we kind of changed it to just remove that public.
Yeah,
And if
within the
we,
first, I think that was an edit we made within the first couple hours of going live.
yeah, it wasn't too far in. It was confusing a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take that, it brings you to another fairly legitimate looking error. But again, you're never going to have a password md5.php being presented to you by a website. It's just not going to happen. So if we take that, gives us this MD5 hash, which we can then just take over to an MD5 solving website. So apparently I have to
Real test is
prove that
on.
I'm not a robot. And admin12 is the password it comes up. We'll go back over Carapace and log in. Start the media server, confirm the ownership, go away. All right. So that brings us to the Carapace Media Access Control and the start of the game. You can fill anything you want out here. It's not going to make a lick of difference. I'm not going to really pause too long on things to read them just because, I mean, if you guys want to go through and read it, I do encourage you to just kind of go through and play around.
Yeah, this
There's
will
lots
all.
of fun stuff.
Yeah, it'll all be uploaded to YouTube too, so you can pause and start as we're going through the steps if there's certain parts you want to look at yourself, or if you're trying to go through this as you can and as you get stuck.
Yeah, to start the game, we don't have any permissions. I can just go through and kind of open some of these and check price, check price, check price. Need the price to go up. Can the devs do something? I don't know. I'm hoping. Just need to open all of these files, which will expose the mac.exe file that we can run. Welcome.text. And that brings us here. So this is the first cipher of the, well, other than the MD5, I suppose, but this is the first cipher you'd really have to solve without just using a website. Or I mean, if you can solve MD5 by hand, power to you. So what this is, if you take this and you put it into, I think it's ROT12 encoded, it just says null, 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 null over and over again. So those letters don't mean anything. They're just null. But we have lowercase and uppercase letters here, and they're divided into 8 character chunks. So that to me just screams binary code. And to be honest with you, I forget if the lowercase is 0 or the uppercase is 0. But one or the other, and if you take all that out and convert it, you get live or vacation as a password.
Crypto dream.
Yeah, which then takes our permission level up to user and gives us access to a bunch of stuff. Still not CMAC, but it gives us few extra spots. So
Should look at those pictures.
pictures. These are all 0x pets. You'll notice it takes forever for Adam Boy's picture of his shrimp to load. We're still waiting for that. And a takeaway for me is next time I do something like this, make sure all the photographs are web sized before uploading them because yeah, it was some pretty brutal bandwidth wasting there. Yeah, these are all our 0x pets. I think this one's Polks actually.
Yeah, that's my little guy.
All right. But the meat and potato of what we want is under TPS reports. We, of course, don't have a password for TPS reports yet, so let's get ourselves rickrolled. Go back. And if you do go through this, I think there's 10 or 12 different rickrolls you can get. It's under var spool. Yeah, var spool, and then yeah, message 3. So I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in these emails. Polk and Cy went to town writing a lot of backstory for these guys, and unfortunately, the only one that ended up being useful was this
It was number 3.
Yeah, there was a lot more to this game, and I'll kind of touch on that at the end. But as it ended up being released, this was the one that you care about. So this is the password cipher, and you can either do it by taking like the first letter, the second letter, the second letter, or just putting them above each other and just reading them like that. And it comes out to TPS reports, cracked. Wow, such secure. Any password $42069 $hash. That allows us to log in successfully to this, which gives us access to this. All of these are just going to get you rickrolled, except for this one. This one we can pick a new username, generate. That'll give us a hashed value, which we can then input everything in here. And this actually gets saved back to a form on our website so that we can verify what you've entered here. And that will come up later. So fill that out and we get a little checkpoint of you, like this user is here kind of thing. And that gets us admin level access. So now we should be able to get into the scene. Now we can see that the unident rule set is working. And we don't have access to it turned off. But we also now have access to bin or to the backup in bin. And once we go in there, that loads the backup config into memory. And now if we go back into CMAC, we can replace the running config with the backup config. And now we can see that the unident rule set is false. Also, it's going to do something to change price to good price in the developers.conf. So if we come back in here and check price, we get good price.
The devs did something. All right.
Now Hard Rock Nick's a happy camper. But now we can go into the bin folder on CMAC and open the 0x identities, which brings us to this wonderful MetaRunner game, which I love. I'm hoping you guys have all played this at least once by now. It's a good time. But the secret is in the pause menu. You just have to hit next menu
Pause
or next
menu and
level.
the main menu.
Now, if you took the time to look at this, there is some binary code on here that'll translate out to KC. And on my Twitter account, I also left keyboard command codes, like character codes for up, up, down, down, left, right, the A, which gives us success. And when we hit escape, it wants to download this file, which is password protected.
Whatever can we do?
So now, this was not my favorite cipher. It really wasn't. I ended up with more photos than I needed, and rather than making a longer password, I just discarded a lot of the data. So you'll notice after going in and getting root, these photos are all resorted. We hover over Tygon's cute dog here. We see M, A, T, R, Y, O, S, H, and it's a big picture, K, A. And I never did get around to getting these resized. So that's the end of it, and all the rest of the data is just junk. You could tell that by comparing the two data sets and seeing that only some files moved up, but I really could have done a better job on this one. But that does give us our password for the Matroska file, which is what I call this memory dump. MT Matroska. And we'll pretend I paid for WinRAR. And then we can just open nest.zip. So if we look at this one, we can see that up here, I've made some edits. Some of these are white, some of them are black. There's 8 in each one of these. This one is the most obvious, I think. But yeah, there's 8 circles in each of these headbands. And once again, I forget if zeros are black or zeros are white, but you convert those out to binary code. And then you open this PNG file in WinRAR, and you get the password epic. Which brings you to this. So now this one, it was interesting because this is what's called epic time. It's spelled epoch, but as far as I know, it's pronounced epic. And it's one of those things that you kind of either know what it is or you don't. I was telling people to kind of give out the hint that, January 1st, 1970, because that's when this starts from. It's the amount of seconds that have passed since that date. I just copied that instead of pasting. We take that timestamp to a human date, we get May 11th, 1997.
Good year.
Oh, a computer called Deep Blue defeated Gary Kasparov in chess on that day. So that's a pretty good guess at what this could be. Let's try. There we go. So now this one, we've got two files in here. We got the I'm not going to take this anymore.rar and the connection terminated.mp3. I don't really know what'll happen if I play that connection terminated.mp3 over the live stream, but it's just a conversation between Mac and CMAC. And in the middle, there's some really weird sounding characters, or sounds, I guess they would be. And if we pull up the histograph on that, we get this, which is Morse code. So we've hidden some Morse code inside an audio file. If you solve that Morse code, it comes out to speak no evil.
The layers continue.
Sorry, just to be clear, that was Braille, not Morse code.
Or sorry, yeah, Braille, my bad. Sorry about that.
Good catch.
That. Yes, it was Braille for speak no evil. My bad about that. Which is why it was so funny, because I've used something that that blind people would use to read, hidden inside an audio file that you have to be able to look at. At least I thought it was funny. So this is the cipher for the next one. There's actually a spelling mistake in this, as the Zodiac killer was known to make. So if you kind of read it backwards, Alfred E. Newman, and then spell it correctly. This is the one that's all capital. I'll bring it here. Cribbage.png. So this is the Zodiac cipher that we made, and it just needs to be cribbed out. So I'm not gonna sit here and crib it out. I think it took Polk and me about a half hour to do it between the two of us.
Yeah, and that was knowing the answers, being able to make some pretty educated guesses, and I'm not sure how long it took Pogo to do.
Well, that's how cribbing goes. Actually, Pogo made really quick work of it. Because you can start making some assumptions, like some of these underlined letters, those are probably capitals. You got them at the beginning of sentences. This is probably an I, most likely. This is probably CMAC.
Yeah, so then you've got your A, so you can start working through it there.
This is likely hello, because that's how I tend to start these things. In fact, this is likely Codemaster, because I tend to sign things like CODEM, yeah, with the capital and everything, ASTER, yeah. So it cribs out pretty fast. You got Mac, you got your CMAC. It does crib out pretty fast. And then that will take you to a form on the 0x website. What was it? 0xidentities.io. Hot dog, we have a wiener. And then you would just enter, I think the password in there was file1. Yeah. And then you just put in your username and password there. And that was the end of the challenge. So,
and the username and password you'd have to put in here is from where you gain root access within the file system game.
Yeah, correct. Because if you don't enter the correct, it will not let you in. So that was just a little way of us confirming that you did in fact play the game in order to get to that point. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, cool.
That's how it was solved.
If anybody has any questions,
oh, go ahead.
If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat.
Or feel free to just speak. I mean, it's pretty informal.
Yeah, exactly.
There was going to be a lot more to the game, and that is what caused the delays. We had a whole hard section of the game that kind of ran in parallel to the section you just saw. And a lot of stuff that was in the Cracking the Shell, I call it the adventure game. A lot of the stuff that was in there would have been used for the harder difficulty stuff. In fact, Tygon threw a whole lot of suggestions to me that would have done very well for him if that hard stuff made it into the game, because he was looking in all the right spots.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we couldn't quite make it all work the way it needed to, and we had to cut a lot of stuff.
I still think it's cool. We,
I think
we
it's
put
pretty cool too.
we put out a banging challenge.
Well, and I know a lot of work went into it.
Yeah, and we're looking at for the next one, we're looking at incorporating some team elements. Everybody can team up, and as a little bit of alpha for everybody in here, maybe you can upgrade your rarity, is what I'll say as just a little tease.
Something that we really want to do. It's just very complicated when you actually start getting down to trying to do it.
Yeah, I'm confident in us. I bet we'll have it done about quicker than we think.
So do we have any questions? I'm just looking in the general chat. I don't see anything. Well, I guess we can talk a bit about sort of the thought and process that goes into creating something like this. You know, the first step I always go through is I ask myself what we want to accomplish and what story we want to tell while we're accomplishing. So, you know, on this one, well, the goal we wanted to accomplish was we wanted to give away 2 ether to somebody, and we wanted to make it fairly difficult, and we wanted to tell the story of the kind of the struggle between CMAC and the 0x Identities team, so to speak, like Mac and Codemaster and all those guys trying to get those pioneers across. And, you know, this is going to lead into some more lore that will kind of usher in the Generation 2 identities. So the lore is very important to me when I'm designing these challenges. And actually, I've had some really good suggestions on how we could have implemented the lore a little better into this challenge as well. So I plan to take a lot of those into consideration on the next one.
Mm-hmm. Was there
And
any
after,
specific steps that you found gave you more trouble than you expected?
well, that Matroska file is building something like that is a very delicate thing, because if you make even one mistake and you go to fix it, I crashed my computer probably 5 times trying to fix little things in there. Like you rename something six rar files deep, it'll just crash WinRAR.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, here's
that
so.
adventure game, that was well, I had to learn an entire programming language to put that one together, so that was fun. And speaking of which, Polk had to learn Unity to put the meta runner together, so
Yeah, I encourage
it was a little
everybody to do
difficult.
the same. It's the most frustrating but rewarding process you can go through.
Is there any way to get the end credits from the media server? No. Um, that was actually going to be the first step of the hard challenge, and there was going to be no way to access it from the media server at all. You would have had to dig into code for that one. I knew people would dig into the code, and well, I'm going to say about 80% of the hard challenge took place in the code of the game. So, good question. No, there was no way to access the garbage file. But if you do get into that garbage file in the code, it's some credits. So,
Yeah, but good find. First Easter egg I've heard that someone's found in here.
oh, the low techs actually found a few hard challenge steps, because like I didn't quite remove them. I would just leave something in there. Like I was like, hey, this was supposed to fly by too fast for you to see it. Tell me about it if you saw it.
Yeah.
Something like that. And yeah, they brought that to my attention.
Oh,
There
okay.
was yeah, there was a few things hidden in the code there that just were supposed to be hard steps that didn't make it in. In fact, at one point, every pet image was stagged with ancient ruins and stuff to number them, and yeah, a lot of stuff had to be redone and revised when we kind of scaled it back.
Yeah. Decide and and we're talking about these hard paths and different ways that we can implement some of these ideas into the future for future events and future challenges, future whitelisting events and what have you. Um,
Something I've been interested in right from the get-go is having multiple variable difficulties. It does get confusing though, because if you come across something from the wrong difficulty, it's pretty easy to convince yourself that it's something you need to be paying attention to when it really isn't.
mm-hmm.
I mean, if we wanted to do stuff like that, there's other projects we could go to.
Well, do you see any more questions? I'm not seeing much more. We could probably wrap it there. If there's any more, anything else you want to talk about with the challenge?
Um, I wouldn't mind touching on the difficulty a little bit,
Okay.
because I mean, it is difficult in and of itself just to find that appropriate level of skill, right? Because there is money on the line here. So it does need to be, I mean, if I made it super, super easy, guys like the low techs and Pogo, they would just fly through it. There would be no challenge to them whatsoever. And it would just be a matter of who can get through this the fastest to win the prize. So we have to be able to stump people. But I also really try hard to make it so that it's not overly frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody sitting there not sleeping for a week because they can't figure something out, usually because the challenge was poorly designed. Like usually if you spend too much time trying to figure something out or you don't know where to go, it's largely a failure of the challenge design. Or at least in my opinion. I mean, I've seen some pretty well designed and poorly designed ARGs over the years, and I find that's a very common thing that a lot of people equate poorly designed challenges to difficult. And it's like, yeah, okay, you take these two random things and it takes a year for somebody to piece the two together, but that's because it was illogical, not because it was hard. So I try and make the challenges solvable by a normal person, but you can't copy paste them into. I don't like stuff you can just copy paste into a code breaking site. It's not fun for me to make, and it's not fun for people to solve, in my opinion. Um, so it's a real battle, and it's not like there's a share course on creating ARGs for crypto projects. It's very much a learn as you go kind of experience. So I mean, as much feedback as people are willing to provide the team, it's only going to make these challenges better. I take criticism pretty well. So yeah, if anybody has any critiques of the challenges, feel free to uh, send it to me in a DM. I don't block my DMs, but if you invite me to something, I will report you. um, or mention in the general channel. Like we can talk about it. I'm pretty open about stuff, and I'm also pretty easy to get a hint out of. So I mean, when I see people getting stuck, I'll give the guys hints to give out, or I'll start giving out hints myself. Like, and there's always a person or two in there who've been testing. Like Moon Crypto Wow tested this one, so he was in the general chat as often as he could be, trying to give out the odd hint and stuff where needed. And I know once that prize was claimed, everybody was pretty pretty willing to help.
Yeah. Which is something we found with our first challenge in the whitelist challenge, where once people got in, everybody just started flooding the chat with answers.
Yeah, that's Susan from HR.
Susan from HR.
She's a piece of work, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do encourage people to go through the challenge. There are a few bugs in it. There were a few things that happened in the challenge after you got root, and when I was removing those, I forgot to add root back into a few areas. So there are a few areas that you actually can't go as root where you should be able to, and yeah, that was just a bug on my end. And by the time we kind of found it, it was too late to change it because you can't change the situation once the challenge is rolling.
Yeah. And I'll say one other bug on in my little meta runner game. Once you enter that second level where you can enter in the code to get the RAR file airdropped to you, anytime that you enter back into the regular game, you have to pause the game and unpause the game to get your guy to start running. That was a bug I just, in my countless hours, couldn't figure out how to fix. But yeah, we have this whole event recorded here, so if anybody wants to go through the challenge, use the walkthrough as needed at the beginning. Feel free. Or if they're just wanting to see how to get to the very end and run through it, I know that's how I played the first Kingdom Hearts game, so I wouldn't judge you.
Well, and we did just take the absolute fastest path through that challenge too. Like there is a lot more there that you didn't see because we knew exactly where to go in that little walkthrough.
Yeah, as Papa in the chat points out, the Susan from HR. Yeah, she appears quite a bit in those emails. She wouldn't make the greatest employee, is what I'll say.
So the video did not even need to be watched. It was a good video though, wasn't it? I think it was Tygon who said yesterday that the difficulty with these ARGs isn't so much in finding the answer, but it's in figuring out what the question is, and that's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, there was so many places in that ARG that you could like, and the low techs were really happy when they found it. A lot of those password fields don't even check for password; they just increment your Rickroll counter and Rickroll you. There is no password to a bunch of those fields. And they didn't figure that out until they were going through the code. And they're like, it's not even checking for a password. We're just wasting our time here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't know what the question being asked is, it's, the answer could be anything. And I do try and play into that when I'm creating these. I like to try and misdirect people, or at least make them think of things the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't want to lead people down too many endless paths, but you want to give them in order to feel that true like rush of progressing, you need to struggle a little bit, I think.
I tend to agree. Might just be how I am, but yeah, nothing that's too easy is really worth doing, in my opinion.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, guys, well, there's no more questions. Probably cut it off here. Just check general one more time. It looks like we got them all. But like I said earlier, guys, if you do think of another question or you got some feedback you didn't want to give publicly or something like that, my DMs are always open. Feel free to reach out. I might take a little while to get back to you, but I do read them.
Yeah. Same with me. But yeah, everybody, thanks for showing up here and have a nice day, nice weekend.
Right on.
Catch everybody later.
Take care, guys.
Bye.